everybody, Ellen here. Today I come to you guys with my November wrap-up, which is a little bit late, I know, but better late than never. So I actually managed to finish 17 books this month, which is really great, but a lot of them were like graphic novels and or picture books or children's stories or whatever, so they were definitely quick reads, but I don't care, it still counts. But let's just get started. So one of the longer books I read actually was Fountains of Silence by Rita Sepetys. Of course I need to read this one because I love Rita Sepetys' books and her writing, and this was no exception. This one takes place in Spain, in Madrid in 1957, where they are still oppressed by General Franco. Meet Daniel Matheson. He's the son of an oil tycoon, and he arrives in Madrid along with his parents to connect with the country of his mother's birth through the lens of his camera. So he's pretty much a photographer, and he takes pictures of literally like everything. We have Ana, whose family is interviewing of obstacles to reveal the lingering grasp of the Spanish Civil War, as well as a chilling definition of future, fortune and fear. So this really like vague description, but there's a lot of shit happening in this book, and I always feel like Rita Sepetys put in so much heart and facts and time into all of her books, because she definitely researches them a lot, and in the back you get to find out a little bit more about exactly what she's done to get all of this information. And like I said, I really love Rita Sepetys' writing, although this was not a new favorite of mine, but I did still really enjoy it. It was definitely a quick read, but I ended up giving this book 4 out of 5 stars. And then I also read The Promised Neverland Volume 3 by Kaio Shirai and Putsuka Demitsu. This is a manga that I am really enjoying. So you pretty much follow these orphans. They live in this orphan house, and there's a lot of kids there, but one day they realized that maybe not everything is as they thought it was, because maybe the outside world is something completely different from what they've had previously. And I really enjoyed this manga so much. I'm really glad I'm continuing on with it, and I ended up giving this one 5 out of 5 stars. And then also reread Vey Book 1 by Sara Bergmark-Elfgen and Carl Jonsson, and this is a graphic novel. It's pretty much about Norse mythology, which is something I do really like, as you know. And we meet Vey, and she is supposed to be a part of this sort of big battle between the gods and the giants, and it's really good. I really enjoyed my reread of it as well. I do really like Sara Bergmark-Elfgen's storytelling, and I ended up giving this the same rating as last time, which is 4 out of 5 stars. Then we have Beyond the Kingdoms by Chris Colfer. This is the 4th book in the Land of Stories, and in this one we get to travel into a lot of different stories, like some classics like Peter Pan, Merlin, Alice in Wonderland, Robin Hood, and it's just so magical and just awesome. And I really love this series so much, and I really need to continue on with it because I want to finish it this year, but this was great. I ended up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. Technically have the last graphic novel I finished. I really love the illustrations of this one. This is The Midwinter Witch by Molly Knox Ostertag. This is the 3rd and final volume in the graphic novel series called The Witch Boy. I like this series a lot, but this was definitely somewhat of a disappointment to me, because I really enjoyed the first 2 volumes so much. Because we meet this guy named Aster, and all he wants to be is a witch, but since he is a man, he's supposed to become a shapeshifter, and he's not interested in that at all. He always wanted to be a witch, and his family does not approve, and shit happens. But in this one, I felt like the story was finally starting, and then they just kind of cut it off, like, okay, now we're done with that, in the end. So I feel like the story didn't come through, and I just wanted to have had more action, and I was expecting a lot more. So this one actually got 3.5 out of 5 stars. And now we have Death Note Black Edition Volume 2 by Tsugumi Uba and Takeshi Obata. I really love this manga so much. It takes me surprisingly long to read it for some reason, but I just want to take it all in. But in this one we meet Light, and he actually ends up finding this death note lying on the ground, and when you write names in the death note, the people will actually die, and you can even decide how they will die and when and everything like that. And he wants to sort of get rid of all the evil people in the world, but it turns out that not everything is as black and white as he originally thought. And then I also read Detektiv Långöra och Bonkostölden by Andreas and Emma Svalander. This was a review book that I got from the publisher called Emma Förlag, and this is just a really cute like children's book about a bunny that wants to become a detective, and he gets his first case trying to find some food and some bonko cider. And it's really cute, it's really fun and quick read, and I really did enjoy it. 4 out of 5 stars. I also have The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jane Wang. This is another graphic novel. Really love the illustrations, and this is about Prince Sebastian, who at night actually goes out as this girl. She's actually what do you call her? He comes out to the parties at night as Lady Crustalia, and at his side is his dressmaker Francis, who makes it a possibility. I ended up giving this graphic novel 5 out of 5 stars because it was really cute, really good message, and I really enjoyed it. And now we have Den helt sanna julsagan om Kent Arnsson Wilhelm by Mats Strandberg, illustrated by Sofia Falkenhem, and this is sort of a Christmas story with really beautiful illustrations, and technically you're supposed to read 1 chapter a day. I didn't do that. Giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. We have Monset Frank by Mats Strandberg and Sofia Falkenhem. This is sort of some of the characters in this book ends up in the book I just mentioned, and this is a collector's volume, so we have Monstret i natten, Monstret på cirkusen, and Monstret och människorna. So it's a children's book, but it's a little bit more text in this one, and we meet this boy named Frank, and when he turns 9 he actually gets bitten in his hand by the neighbor's dog, and then he turns into an animal at night. This was a really quick and cute read. I do really like Mats Strandberg's writing as usual. The first book, Monstret i natten, I actually ended up giving 4.5 out of 5 stars, and Monstret på cirkusen and Monstret och människorna I ended up giving 5 out of 5 stars. Then we have the exact opposite of OK by Laura Steven. This is the first book in a duology called Izzy O'Neill. When we meet Izzy, and she actually kind of goes viral after she has a thing with a politician's son. I had to force myself to read it. I didn't really like the main character. She was very self-involved, even though it felt like her friends had worse problems, and I just didn't really like it that much, and it took me a really long time to read it, which is stupid because it's contemporary and it should be quick, but I flew through the first part because, well, it's contemporary, but then the last part I really had to force myself to read. And I actually ended up giving this book 2.5 out of 5 stars. The ending of a series, and that is A Million Worlds with You by Claudia Gray. This is the 3rd and final book in the Firebird trilogy. In this series we meet Margaret, and her parents are actually these sort of scientists, so they have invented this thing called a Firebird, which means that you can use that Firebird to travel between different dimensions, so you can go into your body in that dimension. It's really hard to describe, but her dad actually dies, and she thinks that her parents' assistant Paul is the murderer, so he actually takes one of the Firebirds, travel into a different dimension, and then Margaret takes the other one and follows him and try to track him down. I just really like this series. I've waited like a year and a half in between each book, which is stupid, but I really do like the different dimensions because they're really cool. I really like the characters, the plot is really interesting, and I really enjoyed this one, and I do wish there was more. But I ended up giving this book 4.5 out of 5 stars. And now we have Vey Book 2 by Sara Bergmark Elfgren and Carl Jonsson. This is the 2nd and final book in the graphic novels about Vey. And this one we continue on with exactly where the first one ended, and that is in the sort of battle that I described earlier between the gods and the giants, and Vey is the sort of champion for the giants in the Meisterliker. I really can't pronounce that, but he's one of the champions for the giants to Beat Out the Gods. And I really looked forward to this volume, but this one actually really disappointed me. I felt like there wasn't much of a plot anymore. It was just kind of more about who had sex with who and why, and that made it not as fun, because I really did enjoy the first volume, and I felt like it wrapped up a little bit too nice and neatly, although very brutally, but still. I ended up giving this book 3.5 out of 5 stars. And of course I also listened to some of the Wheel of Time books by Robert Jordan. I don't even gonna say my thoughts about these books anymore because I'm so over it, but I'm just gonna mention the ones I did listen to and what I gave them for rating. The first one I listened to was The Path of Daggers, which is, I don't even know which book in the order. Is it 8 or something? I don't know, maybe it's no, 7th, I think it is. But I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars, and then also listened to Winter's Heart, which I think is the 8th book. And I give that 3 out of 5 stars as well. All of the books I finished, but I also worked for the entire month, actually more than this month, to finish Empire of Storms by Sarah J Maas, and I ended up reading like 580 pages of this behemoth, and this definitely put me in a major reading slump, and I had like 100 pages left to go when the month ended, and that sucked. But yeah, I tried.